Our commentary and analysis today will be on the European Scramble for and Partition of Africa and concept of the Berlin Conference of 1884 to 1885. At a time in the history of Africa, some European powers and individuals convened a conference in Berlin where they basically shared Africa within themselves without the input of Africans. Now, we have to look at the concept or the developments behind this. Now, um, this scramble for led to led to Africa's complete loss of most parts of their territory, which degenerated to what was known as colonialism, and then after a while, after some long period of time, there was this concept of independence of most African countries, but also there was the neo-colonialism institution and implementation with which most African countries are still going through. Now, when we look at the issue of the scramble for a partition of Africa, what were the reasons for that? Were they mainly for Africans' benefit? Let's look at some of their factors. First, one of the things we have to look at for there was the change in economic reality, global economic reality as at that time. Well, the main center of powers at that period was Europe. That was where you have the world powers as at that time. At the time, it was they were the world powers. The world power status were held by Britain and France. At the time, the Germans entered the whole situation. Now, the Europeans, before that period, the world was under the agrarian economy, where you had a lot of persons or individuals owning or having acquiring large hectares of land, whereby for sure they couldn't cultivate the land all by themselves. So they need for extra hands, and these extra hands led to the unfortunate, dehumanizing slave trade situation known as the transatlantic slave trade, which Africa was the source of slaves. Well, this slave trade was gradually started by the Portuguese in Africa, and other European countries saw the supposedly benefits of it and then get into it. Now, at a time when the agrarian economy system became a little bit not rewarding, that was the institution of the Industrial Revolution. When the Industrial Revolution, which started in England or Britain, as the case may be, and then was replicated in other European countries, when the Industrial Revolution came in, the Europeans saw the need for a different type of exploitative structures, not actually the one for human beings. Now, the need for raw materials, markets, raw materials for these industries, and also market for the excess goods, which actually the European market became saturated. And then there was the need for them to open up markets in other places. This brought about the major the major factor that encouraged the push for the abolition of slave trade and also the institution of what some historians refer to as legitimate trade. Well, which is still an issue of debate, whether we can call that legitimate trade or however anybody wants to look at it. Now, the Industrial Revolution was very important, was actually played a very important role towards the scramble for Africa. Europeans saw Africa as one of the grounds to pick up raw materials and also markets, and also saw Africa as a route to access the Far East, which was also another of their targets. Now, the next point that encouraged the scramble for and also the partition of Africa was the German entrance into the power status. When the Germans entered into the power status, the Europeans, the British and the French, to a certain level, the Portuguese, and to a certain level, the Portuguese saw the Germans as strong influence. Then all of them started struggling towards getting their territories in Africa. Now, another thing was the action taken by the British. At the time, the British seized the Suez Canal part of Egypt in order to, protect their movement to other parts of the world, mainly some of their territories, Australia, Netherlands, New Zealand, not Netherlands, Australia, New Zealand, and other territories they had in some parts of Asia. But this seizure that the British implemented or did made other European powers to start also protecting their own territories in Africa. This brought about a whole lot of disagreements between these world powers. Now, another thing was the expansion saturation in Europe. At the time, European nations expansion got to a saturation level, and then they decided to look for external territories, which they believe will also help to increase their influence and their exploitative tendencies. Now, European traders and missionaries seriously encouraged their government towards the scramble for territories in Africa. Well, although some traders actually were outright in their main desire trading, then the missionaries to a certain level had the intention of projecting or bringing in Christianity. But to a certain level, there was also the tendency of commercial activity. Well, some writers or some schools of thought believe that there was also their desire to counter the growth of Islam, which I, as a historian, have stepped to do. But the bottom line was that there was support and pressure from the traders, European traders, and the missionaries towards encouraging their government to scramble for and acquire territories in Africa. The missionaries, basically, the actions of their government, which most of them were illegal and dehumanizing, did not actually get to them. Their main focus was to make sure that territories were acquired. Now, then when these situations got to a high level, there was also an increased European nationalistic tendencies, and it increased and extremed European nationalistic activities within that period. There was this concept of I'm a British, I'm an English, I'm a French person, I am a German. That came up, and this encouraged, some frictions and then some disagreements, which you know, also helped in creating tensions in their desire to scramble for and also acquire territories in Africa. Now, having noted these things, in order to avoid European powers fighting in Africa against themselves, all of them had the same intention to acquire territories. The leader of Germany, as at that time, the Chancellor Otto von Bismarck, called for a conference of Europeans, for the gathering of Europeans in Africa. When they came, African inputs were not sought, and Africans were not given the chance to contribute. They ended up dividing Africa without the input of Africans. So you can see the reason behind the scramble for, or reasons behind the scramble for and partition of Africa. Well, we have to stop our commentary here.